Hello guys, this is Kashif Nasir and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we have an author with us. His name is Mudassir Malik. He has written a very fascinating book called Teesra Kinara, which means the third riverbank. Okay, Mudassir is an interesting fellow. He is into adventure sport. He does a fascinating job at UN. And today in our conversation, he is going to give us exclusive information about his book Teesra Kinara. He is going to tell a bit about the plot, the stories. He is going to tell a bit about how he came to write those stories and what's in the book. So if you want that very interesting information about his book, which is right now in the best-selling list, stick to the end. But before we talk to Mudassir, I have to ask you this, that please subscribe my YouTube channel. Because if you subscribe it, then you can stay tuned with all the new information or videos that I might post. So thank you very much for watching this, and let's dive right into it.
Do a quick recap. I was born in Quetta in a very amazing place that was very close to nature, and that along with the blessing that the school I have studied in Quetta, it was visited by Quaid Azam as well, and it has the best library in town. So both of these things together makes me push into the reading. And after, of course, when you are reading too much, then you eventually think that you can write or you want to express your feelings as well. So I move towards that path in that. So my first short story or afsana that was published in Daily Jung, it was the title of it was Kacha Ghada. So so that was the start. And but I was so shy that I cannot come out in the world and say that I wrote it. So I was completely hiding it from everybody, but enjoying my own success while reading it. Yeah, okay, my afsana or the short stories are being published in the leading newspaper in their literature, page. So after some time, I happened to went to an literature event where the editor of Jung was there, and he was talking to somebody else, and he said, "There is a new person in town. His name is Mudassar. I don't know him. He's writing amazing afsanas, but we don't know him. And I guess he's probably a person of very old age because the way he's writing." And I was like, oh my God, it's they're talking about me. And at that point I didn't have the courage to say that okay, it was written by me. But eventually with time, my short stories or afsanas were continuously published in Daily Jung. And after my during my studies, we when we were in the university, so there was at that time India and Pakistan were in good relationships. So there was an India and Pakistan Inter-University Drama Festival that was held by GCU Lahore. So they do it every year. So so they invited us for a drama, and I was choose to be a writer of that drama. And Bano Kutsia, she was the guest or the judge of that whole activity. And we did it, and we won the second prize. The first prize was from an Indian university that was, I guess, Jamia Millia or the Delhi University, I guess. And the second one was our university from Balochistan. Everybody was shocked and stunned what we produced over there. And after that, Sania Said at that time was doing a program on ARY, and she called us on the show, and she was like, "Oh my God, you guys blown us away." So this is a way where encouragement and things happen. Then I moved to Islamabad, and in 2011 I moved from Quetta to Islamabad for my job. And till then I've been living in different areas of the country. I've been traveling outside the country for my job as well. And in between, this writing progress is continuing. So I published this book in 2017. It was published in 2017. Um the book title is Teesra Kinara, and it is a combination of around 20 or I don't know whether my camera will capture it or not. Yeah. So it is around 30 short stories in it, which have variety of topics and subjects to cover in that. So that's how I reach out to my first book of short stories. Now I'm working on a novel, and I'm planning to publish it in 2025. Yeah.
Okay, so that was really great. Very impressive. I mean, like the drama rating, the story rating, and your story where you started from. It's all great. It's all great. Very
Thank
impressive.
you.
My question is, what does Teesra Kinara stand for? I mean, what does it mean? The title. What do you thought about? How did you came up with it?
Well, so when I started writing stories, so the short story in Urdu or afsana in Urdu have very different shapes and have very different evolutions during its time. So mm, so when I started writing, my difficulty was that I couldn't name the characters. It was very difficult for me because it is something a writer's fear, that the character is created by me, but I'm putting a name of someone else who is not there, and you're naming a character. It was very difficult for me in the start. uh, so and the stories that I was writing were very different from the normal storytelling criteria. From the structure, it was different. So the Teesra Kinara, it's a afsana as well, and I chose the name of my book on that afsana. So that gives you the perspective that you have two bank of the rivers. you know Either it's there are two banks in the river. So how can be a third bank? So of course it will not be a physical. It is a spiritual point. It's a spiritual journey that we talk about. We often talk about our two physical eyes and a one third eye, that is your spiritual eye. So that spiritual journey lands you towards the search of a third bank, or the Teesra Kinara. So what is the search? What is the process of searching that third bank, that doesn't exist physically, but in a metaphorical world, in a spiritual world, it does exist, and you need to find it. So that is how the journey of soul and things connect together in that. So the actual afsana in that Teesra Kinara. So it is a story about maybe two people or maybe one person. That is depending upon the reader, how they perceive it. Okay, and they are talking together, and they are talking about different stages of love. And they were like, what is the purest form of love? What do you think? What could be which love story you considered as the most purest form of love? And 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 in that conversation, they came to know that the love between earth and sun is the most purest form of love. How they reach out to that conclusion, you will read out the story and you will find out that what it is. But this is something that is not physically interpreted, but rather more spiritually interpreted. So this is how my stories connect together and move forward like that.
Okay, okay, that sounds great. I'm kind of sensing that you're very much interested in the this kind of river literature. Like you said, you started from the Sony Mahiwal story, and now your Tisa Kinara story also has these themes of, the river and folktales, right?
Yeah.
So, how did that kind of start?
So, from the very early age, I was also in process of discovering what is this universe. What are these civilizations? What are who we are? What were our ancestors? How these situations came along? Right now, where I am, it's been a journey of like million of years. So how that journey had taken place. So one of the key elements is that the every great civilization has been uh, started on the bank of a river. So if you talk about Mohenjo-daro, if you talk about Harappa, if you talk about Mehergarh, if you go to Turkey and Göbekli Tepe and every other. So these civilizations, because of the river, and why river? Because the easy source of water for the civilization, they always set their stones on the river's bank. So that is sort of a connection, that we and rivers are together for centuries, for millions of years. So so we obviously have that love with those concepts, and that's how we linked with it, and that is how I perceived it. When there is another afsana. The title of that afsana is Darya Par. So it is about a civilization who thinks that if they cross the river, they will die, or their civilization will be destroyed. So crossing the river was banned in that civilization. But one boy who always see a little lightnings across the bank, and always curious to see what is that, what is shining across the river. Whenever he goes in the night and he go towards the river, he saw those little bulbs or lights glowing in the dark towards the other side of that. So he decided to break the rule, break the tradition, and he decided to cross the river, and to fulfill his curiosity to see what it is. So when he crossed the river, what he saw is a huge graveyard. And the graveyard, the graves have those burning lamps, the oil lamps, you know those are burning over there. And he was like shocked and was like, what it is, and now, because this whole thing is happening metaphorically, spiritually. So he found a girl over there and he asked her, and he found that the girl is basically lightening up all of these oil lamps on the graves. So there are thousands of graves, and when he reached out to that girl, and he said, what is this? And she said, okay, thank you, I was alone, now you are here, and we will do it together. So he was like, what it is? She said that this is the grave of a civilization. So grave of all civilizations lies on the other sides of the river. You live one side of the river, but there are other sides of the river as well. So he got afraid, and when he returns back, he saw that his civilization or his village or his city is not no more there. It's entirely changed. So it is basically a concept of time travel involved in that. So these are the things that I like to portray in terms of words and things like that.
So also your story, Daryapar.
Yeah, Darya Par. So so the story title is Darya Par. He crossed the river, he break the tradition, and and when he returns back, his civilization is gone. Maybe he returned back thousands of years after that, because of the time travel thing. We don't know. The reader who read it, he will perceive it, what happens here. So that is how that the story grows, and
I really like it,
proceed
man. I will
further.
have to buy your book now.
No, I'll gift it to you, no issue. Yeah, you live in Islamabad, right?
Okay, so it says you are also a mountain climber. I mean, how does that, comes up with being a writer, which is more like a introverted thing, and mountain climbing is, very adventurous and it's extroverted kind of thing. So how does that? How do you reconcile those two things? How do you start?
Yeah, so I grew up in, so I don't know whether you have got a chance to visit Quetta, but if you do, uh, so Quetta is surrounded by four mountains. So it's a valley, and it is surrounded by four mountains. So when because I was born in Quetta, I grew up with seeing those mountains. So that gives me a you know sort of love with those mountains, because I grow in that space. uh, I'm basically from Talagang. It is near Chakwal. My whole family and ancestors, they live, we have a place over there. So whenever I travel to these areas where there are no mountains, so I had a very different feeling. What it is, uh, you you can look into the sun directly nowadays. You can see the sun. You can't do it in Quetta because sun is very harsh, because we are on the altitude, and there is snowfall and there is a mountain, so sun behaves differently. So these were the things that make me very very attracted towards mountains. And and because of a writer, or and an avid reader, if you're reading a lot, you are thinking a lot, your mind always have a buzzing sound in you. It is always curious to know what is going on and things. So when I climbed my first mountain, and I found an absolute peace on the top of the mountain, the silence that I want, so I was like, oh my God, that is what I am looking for. So I did that. And then when I moved to Islamabad, so I met a couple of people. We become friends, and then I start climbing in the north, in Hunza, in Gilgit, in Naran Kagan side. So I did a 3,000 or a 4,000 peak. I In last winter we tried 5,300-meter peak in Shamshal. Shamshal is the last village of Pakistan towards China. So it is a very difficult to reach there. It was minus 30 in December when we were on the base camp. So it's quite harsh, and that's the way. So it is basically finding peace, that 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 feeling. And i was I was trying to find that feeling in a lot of adventures. So this year in February I was in Cape Town, South Africa. So I decided to jump out of a plane on top 14,000 feet, and I did that. And I found that peace as well when you are dropping down 200 kilometers per hour, and when you open the parachute and you start hanging on around that. At that moment it was all quiet, all quiet, and that quietness is something that I can't describe with the verbal words. I may describe it in my writings or something, but it is amazing. So sometimes, so that is why I do it a lot. In the coming year I might go to K2 base camp, or I might do a 6,000 peak in Shamshal. It's called Minglixer. So these are the plans in the future as well. So it's not about introvert or extrovert. I found a lot of people who are in love with mountain. They are actually basically very very much introvert, and they find peace in these mountains. They find that their soul connected with the nature in these mountains. So that is what I feel as well.
Yeah, that sounds really great. That sounds very impressive, actually. Okay, so I'm kind of looking through more questions that I need to ask. I don't want to take a lot of time of your.
No issue, no issue. I'm always available for a good conversation and talk. No issue.
So you said you were reading the book Museum of Innocence. You want to tell us
Yeah.
about that? So we can wrap this up.
Yeah, so the Museum of Innocence is a book which always, from last 2 years, it is always with me. So I'm traveling a lot. For my job I had to travel all across Asia, and previously I was the HR advisor for Africa. So I was traveling to Africa and different countries. So there are long flights, there are long stopovers and things like that. Museum of Innocence always remain with me in my Kindle, in my cell phone, in my laptop. It's always there in any form. So it is a novel written by Orhan Pamuk. Orhan Pamuk is a Turkish writer, and he is a Nobel literate. He won the Nobel Prize. Uh, he is not famous for Museum of Innocence. His other novels are very good as well, but they are more political novels. Snow, My Name is Red. These are the two big names for him. This is the lesser known novel because it's the genre is romance and tragedy, and it is such an amazing novel. Uh, So it is about the story of a young wealthy businessman in Istanbul. The story sets in 1970s and 1980s, started in 70s and move in 80s, and who just before engagement falls in love with the 18 years old girl who is a distant relative, and then story builds up on that. So if I tell you the story theme line, it is a very simple story, but the way it is carried on, it explores every emotion of love, hate, jealousy, and in between, the political and social culture of Turkey at that time. So I was amazed to see a lot of resemblance from our own country's culture, and our past, our present, and how it is related to them as well. How they were struggling in those times where we struggled as well in the same situations. Generation gaps, and religion being used as a tool. A lot of things that are involved in that. So Urhan Pamuk has written that this novel in such a proficiency. He explored a psychological conditions where the main character of this novel, Kamal Bey, was obsessed with the things of his lover Fusson, the 18 years old. So he started collecting those things, and amazingly, so I guess I left at the point where I was describing that this novel, Museum of Innocence, actually, uh, there is an actual Museum of Innocence which is based on the theme of this novel, is actually in Istanbul. So this is as well.
Okay, so it says that I have to upgrade. I have 9 minutes left, so you have to kind of like wrap this up.
Yeah, I know that the free versions of Zoom only allow you for the 30 minutes. So I guess we covered that. If you want to continue the conversation, I guess we need to disconnect and reconnect again, or something like that.
I think we did it great. It was great, actually. I mean, you answered all the questions.
Great.
Okay, so thank you so much for doing this with me because I'm very new to this.
No, no, great. It is great conversation, and happy to connect you anytime. Things about books or literature that always intrigued me to talk, and I can talk for hours on books and things like that. So it is very happy to see you and meet you.